One thing that Graham did, if you read his book in chapters like 16 through 18, he compares two companies to learn a lot about. A lot more comes out when you compare two than when you just look at one. So we're gonna look at Dell versus Google. We're gonna look at two banks, Wells Fargo versus Bank of America, and we're gonna look at two railroads, Union Pacific versus CSX. I don't know what it stands for, Central Southern or something. But let's do a little theory. One thing Graham said in his book, and I think it's one of Warren Buffett's favorite quotes, one of mine too. He said, investing is most intelligent when it is most businesslike. Okay? And he doesn't say it, but the corollary to that, you could kind of infer it from his book, that is least intelligent when it's most speculative. So there's kind of two ways to invest, right? If you look at investing, you could have some business-like investing here. And then you have speculative investing here. Okay? And he's saying it's most intelligent when it's most business-like. And we could kind of imply that it's least intelligent when it's most speculative. Kind of like there's a continuum between business-like and speculative, and we want to be as business-like as we can. So what does that mean? What does speculative investing mean? What does business-like investing mean? Well, if we talk about speculative investing, it's trying to predict the future. And if I'm right, I'll make a lot of money. If I'm wrong, I'll lose money. It's like saying, I'm going to speculate that the Giants are going to win the Super Bowl. If I'm right, I make money. If I'm wrong, I lose money.
How about lithium?
You're right. I'm going to speculate that lithium is going to be the thing of the future. If I'm right, I'll make money. If I'm wrong, I'll lose money. Right? I'm going to speculate that that little ball is going to land on a certain number. If I'm right, I make money. If I'm wrong, I lose money. Horses, the same thing. If they win, I make money. And that's speculative, right? People do it in stock. The Kindle's going to be the thing of the future. If I'm right, Amazon will go way up. If not, I'll lose money. Right? It's if I'm right, it works. But what does he say? It says a lot of things. That we're not willing to, like it's a bird in the hand is better than two in the bushel. I'm not willing to bet on what may happen in the future with a lack of sufficient value in hand. That's what he says. That's speculative investing. Right? And when you watch the news, that's what they're all trying to do, right? Every company has their economic analysts, and they're giving all kinds of prognostications about what may happen with the dollar, with the yen, with oil, with politics, with China, with Obama, with Bernanke, with whatever, right? And based on that, they're trying to prognosticate what may happen in the future and what would be the places where you could win and where you could lose. And if they're right, they make money, and if they're wrong, they lose money. That's one way to invest. He says that's probably the least intelligent way to invest. Okay? He says there is another way to invest that is more business-like. So what is that? What is business-like investing? Well, business is this. I'm going to purchase or produce something at a certain fixed cost, right? And then I'm going to sell it at a price above that, hopefully covering my operating expenses and a reasonable profit. It's just straight. That's how I run a business. Any type of business, that's what they do, right? I'm going to buy rubber and sell tires. I'm going to buy it at a certain price. I'm going to sell it up at a price above that to cover my operating expenses and a reasonable profit. Very business-like, okay? So that's business. You have your price that you buy it at, or they call it cost of goods sold, right? CGS. And then you have your revenue, and then minus cost of goods sold minus operating expenses equals my profit. right? And if I can sell for a sufficient margin above my cost, I make money. And that's all we're looking for, right? So it's very businesslike in our approach to investing. And he says, the more in businesslike we are, the more intelligent we are. The more speculative, the less intelligent we're investing, okay? So all we're looking at is we're looking at a good company. We're going to look at what their revenues are, what their earnings are, and the more predictable that number could be, the more predictable their earnings is good, right? And the more predictable their multiple is, then we could just say, this is what the value of that company is. If I could buy it at a cost where I have a sufficient margin to make a profit, then I'm being very businesslike in how I'm approaching my investment, right? Now, there is some speculation. I could speculate on earnings a little bit, right? Well, I'm expecting the iPad, the new iPad to have these great numbers. So the more I start speculating on that earnings number, the more I'm moving this way, right? The more I'm just businesslike, the more I'm being intelligent about my investing. So that's what we're looking at these companies. You notice we don't pay a lot of attention to the news or what may happen or what the earnings might do great in the future compared to what they've been. That's why we look at the 3-year average. We look at, we don't build in a lot on that. We're not expecting a certain catalyst to get our value, right? Because that's what, when we're speculating, I'm buying at a good price now, but because something's going to happen, it's going to cause the price to go up. That's speculating. I'm saying, here, I know what the value is, I'm going to buy it for less than that. I'm not expecting it to really go up. Okay? So that's just a little bit about the theory of intelligent investing as opposed to speculative investing. And hopefully it influences the way you watch news, the way you pick companies. Notice we don't have to talk a lot about what they have in their pipeline. And that's not what we're concerned about. We're concerned about, number one, are they a good company that historically has solid earnings, that we could use that to make a reliable estimate of what they're worth, and then can we buy it at a sufficient discount to make it, to give us a margin of safety. So that's our theory of what we're doing. Now let's go back and start applying it. Any questions? Does that make sense? Okay. So let's compare two technology companies, Dell versus Google. Do you like that approach to investing? Being business-like as opposed to being speculative? Is it fresh? Is it different? It's kind of boring too, right? I can't tell you an exciting story and give you a sales pitch about, you know, this drug is going to revolutionize, or this shoe is going to revolutionize, or this movie, or, you know, I don't get a lot of airtime if I'm just boringly looking at the financials and estimating a company, but it works.